Meet the computer you can talk to. With Copilot on Windows, working, creating, and collaborating is as easy as talking. Got writer's block? Share your screen with Copilot Vision to help spark inspiration, and use Copilot Voice to have a conversation and brainstorm ideas. Or maybe you need some tech help. With Copilot Vision, Copilot sees what you see. Let Copilot talk you through step-by-step guidance so you can master new apps, games, and skills faster. Try now at windows.com/Copilot.
Oh, Hilton stay, your beds are soft and cozy. No lumpy couch, no stiff futon, no shower line at crack of dawn. Oh, Hilton stay.
When you want holiday comfort you can count on, it matters where you stay. Enjoy comfortable rooms and friendly service when you stay with Hilton instead. Save up to 25% this season when you book with Hilton. Hilton for the stay. Terms apply.
Hold on to your butts.
We are changing the course of history as we see it. That is what Wesley demands.
Now this affects Iris. Iris, where are you?
What you feel only matters to you.
I do not entertain hypotheticals. The world as it is vexing enough.
Iris, I have a tip for you.
Don't take drugs!
Or whatever movies with Wesley and Iris.
What up and welcome to Or Whatever Movies. I'm your co-host, Iris. I'm here with my older brother,
Wesley.
Today we're talking a movie from 2025, Eddington. In May of 2020, it reads on IMDb, a standoff between a small-town sheriff and a mayor sparks a powder keg as neighbor is pitted against neighbor in Eddington, New Mexico.
Definitely a powder keg of a movie.
And why do you say that, Wes?
I'm hesitant because this is the entire spectrum of politics, whether far left or far right, something to embrace, something to be angry about. Everything comes to bear, everyone comes into play, and it gets crazy. This is like a Western. It's like a post-apocalyptic Western in COVID-decimated America.
So all the worst things of politics, you say, this is a movie where the characters present all problems and no solutions.
It just illustrates the problem rather than taking a position with political affiliations. It's just like, this is what's wrong. Look how horrible and hilarious it is.
Is it hilarious? This is supposed to be a dark comedy, Western, neo-Western thriller. You think
didn't laugh?
Not at all.
When Joaquin Phoenix was flopping all over the place?
Flopping?
Yeah.
Was that a specific scene or was that just the entire movie?
That was the end scene where he was all dong in your face, full frame, full frontal.
No, I was not laughing. That was tragic and I was confused.
Did you laugh when Antifa Man charged into the street and stabbed him in the head? See? You're laughing.
But it's not, I laugh now because of just how ridiculous it sounds. But this is like the anti-Tarantino. In Tarantino, when things get gnarly, it's all heroic and like for retribution. It's the moment that Tarantino has been building up to for the entire movie.
A satisfying payoff.
Exactly. You're like irrationally happy when they take out the Nazi theater.
Or when they kill the Manson family.
Or when Django is like in the slaughterhouse. Like, it's not rational, but there are heroes and it feels in some way deserved and, like you said, satisfying. Whereas here, it's just physical, violent carnage on top of emotional, psychological carnage.
Now, so that was Pan-Tarantino spoilers. We spoiled like 3 of the movies. But no one who went to a theater or sat down and watched Eddington all the way through hasn't watched all of Tarantino, right?
I mean, tell me, because you've seen all of Tarantino. Are you an Ari Aster fan? You said to me in advance of this review, not exactly looking forward to reviewing Eddington.
I did say I was ready for Eddington. Everyone lauds Hereditary as a landmark in horror, of modern horror. I watched it and didn't find anything overly remarkable about it. I would not say that I'm an Ari Aster fan. The dude is pretty out there, but at least he's honest and not trying to get something made for commercial prospects. He's just like, this is what I'm going to write. Apparently he wrote a Western that he wanted to be his first feature, but then he got, in order to get stuff made, in order to establish his career, he focused on other things like Hereditary, which got him some notoriety, and he went and revisited this once he had the liberty to do so and changed it to reflect COVID concerns and themes. Added in this is just like a quiet Western nothing town backwater backdrop to the spectrum, like I said, of American politics and all the horrible things, right? It was like a all-encompassing stage play where the tiny confined stage contains all the world of politics and the breadth of citizenry or whatever. What I learned about this movie is that you cannot trust online people, influencers, I guess, hawking it. Because they were like, this is the powder keg, this is a hot button issue kind of movie. It's exactly reflective of our times, and it's very in the middle of things. And I was like, oh, I'm looking forward to this. Pedro Pascal is in the middle of things. He's in everything. Joaquin Phoenix is fearless, and he's willing to take a weird, risky, well, that's kind of his thing. And so I sought this one out in the theater, and then reviewing got Kelly to go in Totally Blind, who refused to have any part of recapping this movie with me. She's like, I'm going to go in the bedroom and read on my phone. And I was like, oh, man. And so I told you, Eddington maybe not the best one to cover. It's unwieldy and it's ugly and it's dirty and it's like a minefield. And yet here we are. Why are we here?
We're here because someone had recommended it to me, but now I realize that they actually had recommended a different movie. And we're here because Pedro Pascal. And we're here because I need to know what you think. I said to a friend who is also a fan of orwhatevermovies and a writer whom I respect. And I said, I'm excited to see Eddington. And she said that she was so turned off by Hereditary that she's not going to watch another A. Aster movie kind of no matter what. So that was like an anti-recommendation that kind of galvanized me. I was like, all right, I guess I got to see it. And slogged through it over the course of 2 nights. Brian tapped out about a quarter of the way through. And he opted for another Pedro Pascal movie. So as I finished Eddington, he watched Fantastic Four, First Steps.
That's 2 now of Pedro Pascal's 3 relatively high-profile movies in 1 year. Actually, I think Fantastic Four, Eddington, and The Materialists were all in the theater at the same time.
And I don't have Pascal fatigue. Do you? I can't get enough.
You have so much love for Pedro Pascal, as we've discussed, that in a certain other Pedro Pascal vehicle, you simply refuse to move forward when Pedro Pascal took his leave of that particular project, which we will not spoil. So
yeah, that was a pretty good spoiler-free reference. What are you talking about? You love Pedro Pascal. Unbearable weight and lightness of being or whatever gave you Pedro Pascal.
It gave me back Pedro Pascal, and I didn't actively hate him. The love is a little bit strong because he seems like a light touch with when he like kind of dips in and out of projects. You were like, I'm going to watch Eddington because how bad could it be if Pedro Pascal is in it? And how long did he last? A half an hour? 45 minutes in this 3-hour movie?
It was so long. He doesn't have enough screen time.
Was there any setup that you felt like where you're like, oh no, here it comes? Or was it totally shocking? And did you consider quitting the movie at that point?
No, I didn't see it coming. I thought that there was more to be revealed between Pedro Pascal and his son's character. I thought their dynamic was going to deliver on more, but it was a little bit more of the same in the house before he gets snipered. But it wasn't surprising because by this time, the sheriff had already murdered the unhoused. Please tell me he doesn't have a name. Does he have a name?
How dare you?
They all have names. They're all on first name basis.
How dare you, as I go hastily to the Eddington thing and try to find that guy's name. He has a name and he has an identity and possibly an alcohol issue which needed addressing. His name was, I don't know.
He's not listed as unhoused. Could he have been Warren?
I don't know. It was part of the problem, and it was the coin toss between Joaquin Phoenix and Pedro Pascal's character. Like, you're on one side or the other, and they kind of used that guy, as an example of how to or to not address a problem or conduct yourself. And that guy became the turning point for the Joaquin Phoenix character, right?
Absolutely. To me, he represented everything that was out of control in Eddington and in the world at that time. And definitely the constant reminder of Joaquin Phoenix's ineffectualness, just in his face, walking the streets, haunting him. And I think the scene could have been better if he hadn't have drawn his gun so soon. Maybe there was supposed to be like tension in him just kind of like tracking him in the bar for so long. But when after he gets slapped in the face, can you say bitch slapped? Is that PC?
No. There's no way that's possibly PC. That's what happens to him, but you can't say it.
Okay. After he gets slapped in the face at the Katy Perry party, there's no turning back for the sheriff.
And don't you think that Pedro Pascal knew that? I got to call him by his name. Ted. Mayor Ted.
Yeah.
Ted
Mayor
and Joe.
Ted Garcia.
I mean, when you smack the dude in front of everybody, like, you kind of knew that this was him drawing a line in the sand or whatever, right? And then Ted crossed it. For Ted to do that in front of everyone was a declarative statement.
I don't ever condone violence. I was just thinking about just how awful and repulsive it was when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock in the slap that was heard around the world or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's not cool and it's inexcusable, and also assaulting a police officer is like, isn't that a felony? It's a criminal offense, at least. But I kind of felt like it was a person to person, man to man. Like, Pedro Pascal's character had every reason, like, it was way beyond personal between the two of them, publicly personal, right? He accused him in his campaign speech or whatever of rape. And I felt like he was slapping him as a man slapping another man. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yes, but it should be noted that when these slaps happen, I think, in the case of Joe and Ted and with Will Smith, it's not a punch. This isn't like I'm hurting you or assaulting you for your perceived attack on me. It's very deliberately this is not intended to hurt you, but rather to humiliate you. Those politics are as wonky, and I'm as wary of them as I am entering into the fray of taking a side, because all the sides were represented in Eddington. Everyone was extreme, and I can't really judge them based on their politics. The youth are angry, and they're going to join movements and stuff. And Emma Stone and her mom, Louise and her mom, are conspiracy theorists and stuff, and she's all railing and restless and angry and inviting these like cult leaders or whatever into their house for dinner, and then she just ends up barefoot and pregnant behind him while he rants later in news coverage or online or whatever. I couldn't latch onto or like anything about anyone because everyone was so extreme in one way or another. Even Mayor Ted, who was poised to be eminently reasonable against Joe's craziness, I still didn't like him. He was just so obviously a caricature of the extreme opposite, the dichotomy, and yet the opposite side of politics.
Yeah.
Where we can see the full breadth of ugliness.
Aren't characters archetypes in Westerns? He represents the status quo. He represents the system. He's firmly embedded in it. He's consummate politician. He's in bed with the mega corporations. And this slick-talking, good-looking, likable guy who's kind of a dick to his son, which unfortunately seems kind of in line for what we know about a lot of politicians and people in positions of power and leaders and so forth. So he represented status quo, but also a important reminder kind of where we were going into the pandemic, which obviously exacerbated everything. I saw everybody as being symbols of the stress and the confusion that the pandemic exacerbated.
It shows that when it all comes down to it, when there's a life-changing event, the rules are shaken up or the status quo is shaken, then all rules go out the window. And it's just, it's like Lord of the Flies level crazy. In the absence of really clear leadership, and you have the two, I guess, top political figures in town bickering and having public displays of aggression, it goes nuts.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
With new, gentler scented Clorox disinfecting wipes, clean finally smells as good as it feels. On everything from lamps to ceiling fans. Even on your kid's toy shark. Oh, ouch. Clorox disinfecting wipes. Now available in crisp lemon. Find it on Amazon. Clorox. Clean feels good.
Joaquin Phoenix's character, the sheriff character, is really complex. Like, what a great role for Joaquin Phoenix. He's just this walking inferiority, superiority complex.
Yeah.
And the pandemic just brings out the absolute worst in that. I mean, he's in such a position of power, and yet he wields it so ineffectually. He's basically impotent at home, and he tries to take back control in his life and his work. I mean, his whole mayoral campaign is just the saddest, most cringy, most... If there was a moment that I could have laughed, it was when he drives away and the tree at Pedro Pascal's ranch knocks off his giant promotional, I don't know what that was, insulation on top of his car, except it was tragic. It was supposed to be funny, but it was so tragic because his character was so tragic.
He was meant to look like a buffoon. He was never supposed to be the hero, right? The whole point, I think, was to make his character realistically a total loser. Just where he's so extreme in everything that he does. His entire car is covered top to bottom, like the religious fanatics that populate the South Bay who cover their vans in tinsel. It's a little bit too much.
Yeah. And he's also surrounded by ineptness. His deputies or whatever are pretty hapless. But also Michael is supposed to be the most balanced character of them all.
Yeah. And yet obviously unhinged in a place where he can be lawless, when he is thoroughly wronged, when the law fails him. He's probably the scariest element because that crazies are going to craze and stupid people are going to be stupid. I don't think there was an arc for Joe that was surprising. But for Michael, none of this is going to end well for anybody.
So with Michael, can we get to some of the parts that were kind of confusing about Eddington?
We can try.
So we'll start by breaking down what happens with Michael. So Michael is probably the sanest, normalist character. So Joe decides to promote Michael, and he claims that it's unrelated to the murder of George Floyd, but then also later reveals that it was motivated because he wanted to make a public statement about promoting his black deputy. But nevertheless, Michael is excited about the promotion. He seems like he's ambitious, that he's got some drive. Is Michael framed by Brian?
Well, he's framed, I think, just because he was the least flashy. He was the most reserved, where everyone is pretty high profile. You can put the promotion on him and he won't say anything about, hey, this is obviously a political strategy or whatever. Or you can scapegoat him and he won't loudly complain, or he'll just kind of quietly grip the bars and talk about injustice. It just seems easy that in a world full of sharks, to be the quiet seal or whatever it's not going to keep you safe.
So maybe he was an easy mark, but was it Brian that framed him, or was it Joe that framed him, or were Brian and Joe somehow in collusion?
I think Brian and Joe were in collusion, but I don't have the finer details pinned down for that.
So they lock him up, and then the other dude from Yellowstone, who I really liked, Luke Grimes, who plays Guy Tooley. Guy seemed like he was the guy who was like easily activated, right? Like if you put what seems like a pretty simple case together, he's going to be all on board. And that's exactly what they needed from him, was him to be like the, somewhat innocent police officer in the case who, was going to validate all of their theories. Anyway, so Guy goes to turn in some evidence, and then they come back and there's a dumpster fire and Michael's been sprung free. So what happened? The whole rest of the movie from here on out is confusing to me. Who released Michael?
I don't have that information. I just know that when the movie spins out of control, there's discord and disarray and chaos everywhere. And then the movie seems to spin into this place of just total absurdity. And then they blow stuff up, and all of a sudden he's lurching around in the dark, and there's snipers everywhere and Antifa and all this stuff. And I was like, what is happening? It was pretty crazy. I don't know who let him out.
Okay.
And so I'm trying to be impartial, but politics, you can't get away from it in this movie. If you're not going to talk about the cinematography, and it was all so much natural lighting, and Joaquin Phoenix not afraid to look buffoonish and get really hurt tumbling down the hillside and stuff when he's trying to evade snipers, then it has to be about the political themes of this movie. And inevitably, you're going to carve out where you land politically on this movie as you talk about it. It's kind of impossible not to. It's just Ari Aster presenting the whole problem, and you lump in with Joe or with Ted or with the kids or with Emma Stone, and nobody is afraid to look foolish, ignorant to one group or another, and to be kind of reckless and contradictory.
So do you think that Ari Aster in the presentation is not siding with one or the other, is unbiased, is...
I don't have a lot to go on. He doesn't seem to be afraid to go all in. He's presenting the problem rather than the solutions of a divided America, which microcosmically in this tiny, town, that still exists. He also directed, I'm going to call it Midsummer, because I think that's what it's supposed to be. But it's also this thing that I haven't seen that is 3.5 hours long, that's hailed as being a cornerstone of modern horror. But I don't think that he is a filmmaker who operates with any degree of fear. He just kind of does what he wants to do, and he's going to do it again. You know that dude is currently developing a sequel to Eddington? I mean, you can say that, but Eddington cost about $20 million, maybe 25, and made $12 million. And even that amount, I was a little bit surprised, propelled by Oscar winners left and right and the beloved Pedro Pascal and all that good stuff. But still, tough subject matter that I don't think anyone feels squarely at home. Wherever you stand politically, there's a group represented on screen that you're probably going to hate. And maybe that's the fridge that you can hang your hate magnets on or whatever. But I don't know that it was a fun experience. So my approach to this is that Ari Aster can and will do whatever he wants. I don't know. I can't see that anyone would back Eddington 2, but whatever. He's going to keep making movies, and some of them stick and some of them don't. What I'm most interested in this regard is extremely high profile stars. Pedro Pascal he seems like kind of a middle of the road sort of easygoing guy who's in stuff like The Incredible Weight of Massive Talent or whatever. What is it called?
The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Yeah. Joaquin Phoenix, who loves to hang it all out there and be crazy and dirty and scummy and hateful. Emma Stone, who just won't stop making movies with Yorgos Lanthimos, who is not afraid to look ugly in any respect. I thought she was going to be the one. She was the wife who's unhappy because Joe is so clearly reprehensible. She was going to be the one. And I was like, what are you doing? when she kind of went off the rails. Austin Butler is a hot property and is in all these crazy, dirty, scummy movies.
Wasn't he the perfect blend of Jesus and Elvis in this movie?
Kinda, yeah, but his character, Snapshot, that's not going to be his headshot around Hollywood. I was just fascinated by this cast and frankly suckered by the online campaign that Eddington was a movie for the moment, and it was a hot button movie and that it really needed to be seen, and I'm so looking forward to it. And it's a postmodern Western and kind of the way that No Country for Old Men, was, and using that backdrop to really tackle modern issues. And I was like, this is going to be great. And I'm going to take my fiance who loves to tackle hot button issues and stuff. And she was completely turned off. And I was like, oh, I don't know if we can or should discuss this. And yet here we are.
I'm glad we're here, even though it is difficult subject matter, and it's not a movie that's necessarily meant to be enjoyed. Although I do take it back from earlier when I said that I didn't laugh. I did laugh twice in this movie. I worked on a few political campaign commercials when I was working for a specific producer, and that was kind of her bread and butter. I think I production coordinated at least 2 political campaign commercials, but in Pedro Pascal's mayor commercial. When he's playing the upright piano in the street, kind of for no reason, it was just so absurd. It made me laugh out loud. And when Joaquin Phoenix is running for his life through the desert at night and he's getting sniped at,
yeah,
and he decides to run across that roof, and then he falls into that building he crashes into a glass display.
How do you do that?
It was so shocking and violent. I laughed out loud.
I feel like he's Shia being like, it's not going to work, and this isn't going to be the take unless I get really hurt. There's movie tricks and all that stuff, but wow, like he wasn't dressed for that. And oh man, just the bleakest and blackest of bleak black comedies. Definitely meant to be a comedy because, I don't know, they were just so ridiculous and yet so not. It's like the LaCroix of comedies where it's just a hint of comedy, like the hint of the essence of the flavor of the comedy.
Of Pamplemousse?
Yeah, of an otherwise really difficult movie. Oh man, you know that Joe is going to lose it. And yet Ari Aster languishes so long on him just being so broken and beaten. When he finally gets in to address the unhoused guy in front of Mayor Ted, he goes inside and the guy is like pulling the tops off the liquor bottle, and then he beats Joe down, or he gets hurt and runs away, ineffectually doesn't apprehend him, and then he's like rolling on the floor for like 2 minutes, and then he gets up and we track with him, and he staggers out the door across the empty street to his truck that's like parked a block away. We just have to follow his slow beaten slog the whole time. A slow beaten slog of a movie that ends with such shocking violence that I was like, who is this movie for? What are we doing? It seems like if it wasn't intended for commercial prospects, at the very least, it was meant to incite a firestorm online on social media. I didn't follow up because I found the whole experience a little bit distasteful and unwieldy.
I still have so many questions and so many things to say about Joaquin Phoenix's, the complexity of his character, who, was a buffoon and yet kind of never loses it throughout the entire movie.
No, make no mistake. As an actor, regardless of my personal feelings of the role, he's great and dedicated and so physical and just like, I'm going to put my wiener on screen and it's going to be not at all flattering as my caretaker hauls me to the toilet. Fearless.
And then slaps me over the head and then the whole thing. I can't tell what was worse, when he got slapped on the head, when he's being propped up on the toilet, or when the caretaker apologizes.
He's the extreme case of the people like Robert Pattinson who isn't going to rest on his Twilight laurels or whatever and is going to make risky movies. Joaquin Phoenix doesn't have to go this hard. He can relax a little bit. He's an Oscar winner, but no, he's going to do ridiculous stuff. Emma Stone is going to do ridiculous things because all the commercial success and all the, recognition and, good looking people, all that stuff is out the window They're just going to do whatever they want, and Ari Aster is really going to use them in a modern Kubrickian style to do whatever that he wants them to do.
All right. Well, I think that the fact that I have more to say is just a testament, I think, to Eddington, which is really successful at depicting a moment of failure and perhaps a continuing moment of failure in our country and in our communities.
Whew.
I can see it already, Wes. Ari Aster month, or whatever movies 2026.
Ari Aster movies are alienating experiences. They exist on the fringe, and Eddington is no exception.
And that's our discussion of Eddington. 818-835-0473 is how you can text us or leave us a voicemail. Or orwhatevermovies@gmail.com is how you can get in touch. Or orwhatevermovies.com for 400 movie discussions in addition to the Powers of Darkness series available now. Thank you for listening to this episode of Eddington. We hope you enjoyed it. Even if you didn't necessarily enjoy the movie.
Yeah, please let us know if you enjoyed this movie and on what basis.
And thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Hi, I'm Mark.
And I'm Peter.
We're the founders of Electrocast Media, bringing you great podcasts like Nightmare Road Stories, Tech Talk Revolution, and Bodacious Minds.
Electrocast networks include Ruby for female empowerment, the Best Business Network, and GPN for geopolitics. We built this company to create community and amplify diverse voices, and we really appreciate your support.
So, keep listening to Electrocast podcasts and hear the culture.
Electrocast.
Hey everybody, Diego here from the Candle Power Hour and Candle Power Records. Together with Electrocast Records, we proudly present Imperial Highway, a California sampler. 15 singles tracked by artists all based in California. Every song on Imperial Highway is mastered to deliver. Rock and roll is back, and we got what you want. If you're craving new music, Imperial Highway hits the spot. Download Imperial Highway. Check us out at candlepowerrecords.com and listen to the Candle Power Hour on Electrocast.
Electrocast.